So thank you for coming on to the Wellness Hub. I appreciate you for taking your time. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Marsha. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Like I said before, my name is Jen Hernandez. I am a registered dietitian and I'm also board certified in renal nutrition. And what that means basically is I went through school, I went through my internship, I passed the national exam to become a dietitian. And then I was a dietitian for a while. I got over 2,000 hours working with kidney patients. And then I passed another national exam to prove that I knew what I was doing there too. So that was like my educational background. And kind of I have to explain what it means to be a dietitian, and then I say board certified in renal nutrition. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So time, a lot of tests, a lot of studying.
Is so what inspired you to pursue your career in dietitianist and kidney? What really inspired you? Like, how did you get to that space?
Well, I mean, it is a long story, and I love talking, but I'll try to keep it brief.
It's okay. Share your story. I love stories. I love story time.
Well, it started actually in my undergrad, and we were learning a little bit about renal or kidney nutrition. And in the 4 years of my undergrad, I had about a week of time learning about CKD and the renal diet. And so that's kind of where it started, a little bit of piqued interest, but honestly, it was a lot more fear because it's very intense. There's a lot of nuances. It's not just like a general healthy diet. There's a lot of things to go into it, from stages, causes of the kidney damage, and even transplant, like all kinds of different things. So I got a very, very small taste of it in school. And then I became a dietitian and I started working in the hospital, as most dietitians do. And part of my self-development was volunteering and being part of the local dietetic association. And a lot of my colleagues there worked in dialysis. And one of my friends was like, "Hey, Jen, you should work in like she was recruiting me. She was like, "Jen, you need to work in dialysis." And I was just like, oh my gosh, no way. I remember what that, no, I can't do that. Like this is a life-sustaining treatment. It was so much fear of just the responsibility of like, not only would I have to know the renal diet in and out, but then to be able to teach it. Like, it's one thing to understand it yourself, but then to be able to teach it is a whole other thing. And for people to rely on you for that. So it started from this place of fear of just like, who am I to do that?
Right.
But then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? If I can learn this, if I can teach the renal diet, I can do anything. And so I took it. I took the challenge. I took the job and I started working in dialysis. And it was there I spent several years. And with my husband's being in the military, we traveled a lot. And so I worked in many states, in many dialysis clinics over the years. And there was a recurring theme of just people being so scared and this deer in headlights look when somebody would start dialysis.
Right.
And they would just tell me, I have no idea how I got here. Like, this came out of the blue. No one warned me. No one told me anything. I didn't see a dietitian, like none of this. This is all brand new.
Right.
And so that's kind of where it pushed me into what I do now, which is my business is plant-powered kidneys. And I started by educating people of what they can do to protect their kidney health and to avoid or delay dialysis. And so that's kind of where it all came from, was always this motivation of like, I know it's scary for me, it's scary for them, but like, if we can learn this and do this, then there is a good possibility that it can change somebody's life. And I've seen this so many times at Plant-Powered Kidneys. It's been like, it literally takes my breath away with the impact that we've been able to make.
Wow, Jen, it's pretty interesting to hear your story and you saying fear, right? So fear, when your friend was like, "Hey, won't you get," you were like, "Oh, I can't. How, me?" But how you took that fear and said, "Okay, I'm going to do this." And then how you equated it to the fear of the patients that you were working with, of it was almost a similar fear. And it sounds like you use the fear to empower yourself, but also to empower your clients to delay dialysis, but almost like, hey, what do we need to do for them to empower them to move forward? But it's almost like you also put yourself in that same place of, I don't know. And you kept going. You're like, I want to understand it. I want to do these things. And it sounds like you also put yourself in the space of somebody who like needed the renal, like needed that guidance, needed that teaching. And that sounds so powerful, Jen. I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Honestly, if I told my dietetic student self, like, this is where you're going to be, never in a million years. Like, I didn't really know exactly what was going to happen, but I did not think I would be focused on CK. Like, the one part of a subject in school that I was like, oh my gosh, no,
Right.
how in the world did that turn into my life and my career and my passion? Like, this is what I do. This is what I get to do every day, which is incredible.
So can you share an example or a story, right, of a client that transformed, that was once got that information? Because I can see it on your face. I can feel the energy in your heart there's multiple clients that I know that you're speaking of. So can you tell me about one story that you can just, oh my gosh, I have goosebumps because I can feel it in you right now. So can you tell? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there are so many. There are so many stories I have from various aspects, whether it's my private clients or my students in Kidney Wellness Academy, which is my like signature program. And the one that does stand out to me, like top of mind, is and she gave me permission to use her name, but her name is Ruth, and she is a student of Kidney Wellness Academy, and her story is sadly common. It's really unfortunate the way things happened for her, which is she learned about having kidney disease in February of 2024. And so she was given one appointment with a renal dietitian, no plan, no guidance, no like, let's follow up, and that's it. And her doctor wasn't giving her anything, was just saying, let's just see how it goes. Let's just wait, which is a really recurring theme for a lot of people with kidney disease, especially when you are diagnosed in like stage 3, which is considered a mild stage of kidney disease. It's like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, you don't need dialysis. So let's just wait. Let's just wait and see. So it's a very passive, reactive type of method of healthcare. And so, yeah, she learned in February 2024 about her CKD. And then she joined Kidney Wellness Academy in April. So she tried doing this stuff with her doctor. She had her appointment. She was like, I'm not getting the answers. I'm not getting what I need to get. I don't know what to do. She joined Kidney Wellness Academy. And from there, we taught her all about these core fundamentals when it comes to a renal diet. So that includes protein, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, fiber, carbohydrates, fluid. We cover so much in there. And a big part of the program is learning and then applying. You need to apply what you learn. And that's what Ruth did. And so as she's going through this program and I'm talking through, like, look at your lab history, look at these trends. She said, wait a minute. I had kidney disease back in 2019 and nobody told me. Didn't even know about it. Up to 5 years later, 2024, that's when it was a discussion. Now, I don't know if it was just said in passing in an appointment and it was just kind of dismissed. If it was totally unsaid and just listed as a diagnosis, I have no idea. But the point is, Ruth didn't know. It was not discussed enough for it to be on her radar until 5 years later. So, I mean, that alone, again, is really common and really unfortunate, which is why one of my big advocacies for people is to look at your labs, anything that's out of range, ask, read your doctor's notes, like do all of the investigating for yourself, because doctors have limited time and they might not speak so clearly. They don't always have this bedside manners or even the right type of verbiage when they talk about things, but it's your health, it's your advocacy. And so Ruth did that. And she looked into everything, she tracked, and then she used Kidney Wellness Academy to continue to take care of herself and to continue to learn these things and make changes. But she didn't do anything crazy restrictive, which is really what we talk about is, any kind of diet change when it comes to a renal diet, if it's pulling you away from your normal life, if it's making you say, I can't do this, I can't go here, I can't be with you, then it's not the right step. It's not the right thing. And so we talk about these things in the program of how to navigate a normal life and how to eat in a way that you feel your health, your overall health, and your kidneys are supported. So fast forward to, let's see, she just came back to me, or she just gave me an update in this past April. So April 2020, about a year later, she gave me an update. Her GFR, which is for those who don't know, GFR is an estimated measurement of your kidney filtration, glomerular filtration rate. And it's on comprehensive metabolic panels, or if you get a renal panel, it'll be on there. Her GFR was at 43 when she started working with me. So this is around stage 3B. I can never remember the numbers, the cutoffs, which I really should. But the point is, it went from a 43 to a 63. That's a 20-point swing. That is a huge, huge improvement in her kidney health. I mean, this is saying like, hey, things are back on track, because a lot of GFR reports will say as long as your GFR is over 60, then that's considered good. And her nephrologist even told her, if you keep doing what you're doing, following the path you're on, you're never going to need dialysis. And it was a total 180, again, from years ago when she had no idea.
Right.
And her doctor was like, let's just sit back. Let's just wait. Let's just wait and see how things go. No guidance, just like, let's just wait. So she took it for herself and did this. And she's doing amazing. She's doing amazing. I mean, I'm so proud of her and so many of her students, but like, how cool is that?
Yes. It's amazing to hear that story. You talked about how she's had it for 5 years. A doctor didn't say anything. And then she sought out. And that's one of the things that in this space is interviewing everybody, different wellness practitioners, right? There's advocacy, right? And a lot of times people will get their comprehensive, their blood test, their wellness, and they don't know because we've been trained and taught that the doctor knows best, right? But also not really even understanding what out of range looks like. What does that mean? And so we kind of have been taught, hey, don't go on WebMD, don't go on the internet and figure those things out, because then you might freak yourself out. But what I'm loving the story and how I'm loving it is that she sought out help outside the regular traditional guidance, right? And she was able to advocate, but she was able to find you and to help herself and to help her numbers and to hear her story. That is like big, that empowerment, right? But even to hear the whole doctors, you said it's common for doctors to overlook.
Yeah. And if I could just add to that,
I want you to, yes.
So kidney disease are stages 1 through 5. And stage 1 is rarely diagnosed. Usually stage 3 is considered an early diagnosis. Stage 5 is considered end-stage kidney disease, where a person would qualify for dialysis or a transplant, meaning their kidneys are at basically below 10%, 10 to 15%, and they need extra help. Getting a diagnosis at stage 3 is like there's some kidney damage, but things are more or less working. It's just they're a little more fragile. But this is kind of my opinion and what I've seen in the past 10 plus years in nephrology, but when a nephrologist, their patient load is a lot of dialysis patients. They are covering maybe several dialysis clinics, and each clinic has hundreds of patients. And so they're seeing a lot of dialysis people who are very sick, people with failed kidneys. When they see somebody with stage 3, they're like, oh, you're not this guy who just had to get bilateral amputations. Like, you're not this guy who just had to get moved up from 3 treatments to 4 dialysis treatments a week, like you're relatively okay. But that person who just got diagnosed with CKD3, that's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, oh my gosh, like this is life changing.
Right.
And so there is a shift of there's a little bit of medical bias in my opinion that there's so much focus on. Obviously, yes, like people in dialysis do need care, but I think there's a bit of a sacrifice in the earlier stages. And also simply, there's not a lot of medical treatments available for earlier stages. Lately, there's been more medications to come out, but in the recent years, there hasn't been a lot. So doctors do kind of, stage 3, they do kind of have to sit on their hands and say, like, we can monitor. But it's not really the doctors they're not the ones who are able to implement changes at that point. It's dietitians. And I'm going to toot my own horn because I see it all the time. Like they won't get anything from their doctors because their doctors would say, like, I literally don't have anything to do to help you. But dietitians, there's always something that we can do to help improve nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, stress, supplements. There's a lot of things that can be done there.
Right.
And doctors simply, it's not their expertise, and that's okay. That's why I'm here. They don't need to focus on it. But like people should know that renal dietitians exist.
Yes. That is amazing. Just to hear that, right? To hear all of that. And just kind of what you said, nephrologist has thousands, just the patient load, right? And then if somebody is 3 on the level, right, the factor is, there's no medication, you said until recently, and that's where you come in. But something I also was wondering, right, because you're so versed in this, right? How do you keep updated? Like, how do you keep sharpening your skills and kind of moving and grooving? Because it sounds like you're right on the front lines of what's happening in this space. How do I empower my clients? How do I see the changes? How do you stay updated? I know in your industry, of course, we have CEUs and, license that you have to do, right? But the thing that you're most passionate about, how do you stay updated with the things and the changes that are happening in the field?
I mean, for one thing, PubMed is like a saved bookmarked website for me that I am on basically every day. So really keeping up with the latest research, having multiple subscriptions to like the Journal of Renal Nutrition and American Kidney Disease and nephrology. Like there's a lot of things that I can read and stay up to date with. And one of my favorite ways besides the research is going to conferences. I do attend. There is a conference held by the National Kidney Foundation. It's the Spring Clinicals Conference, and it's targeted toward healthcare professionals that are helping people with chronic kidney disease. So nephrologists, primary care, PAs, nurses, dialysis techs, psychosocial, like social workers, psychologists, pharmacists, dietitians, like there's all different kinds of groups. And I've been going to this conference every year for the past 5-ish years, and I've spoken. I'm actually speaking at the next one. And yeah, I was really honored because I've spoken there before. And when they ask you to come back, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good time. So yeah, I love doing that. And so besides attending is also speaking at the conferences, which really, really pushes me because it's one thing to educate somebody with kidney disease who doesn't have a medical background. And I'm pretty good at like breaking things down into like basics and, these are the essentials. Yeah. But then speaking to peers or my mentors that I have had sitting in the audience when I'm talking, like that's another level of like, I got to know this. I got to stay on top of it. Right. So, that's probably the biggest thing I would say. And then with my book, I mentioned to you before we started recording, I'm in the final stages of writing my first book, which is Plant-Powered Kidney Nutrition. And the book writing process, I mean, this is going to be the guide for people with CKD about all these different pieces of a renal diet. And so it was keeping up with the research and then explaining it in the best terms possible for people with kidney disease without them feeling overwhelmed. And then also helping them, giving them tools and guidance on like, this is what you do next. Right. So that was a really big part of what helped push me in this last year was writing this book and getting this out in the world.
So Jen, I'm so excited for you. I know we just met, but I'm like one of your cheerleaders right now. Like just like rooting you on because just the energy that I get from you and your passion, I would want you on my wellness team. Like I would want you, recently my dad had a mild stroke and I was looking through his chart and I had not seen the blood work before, but it was three. It was, CK, it was three. And I was like, hold on, what's going on? What are we gonna do? Right. And I got a nutritionist or a dietitian. I had actually picked somebody, she was a dietitianist, but I had done it for the mild stroke. It wasn't for the kidney. And so one of the questions I have for you, right? Say it's somebody who, is at the three, the CK, the three, or they're navigating this, or a caregiver. What would be two or three things that you would recommend for somebody coming into the space for kidney health, right? For them, on their journey, maybe at their four, maybe, what would be two or three things that you would recommend to them?
Well, I mean, for stages 3 and 4 CKD, this is a silver lining. And again, like most people, they don't know about stage 3. They only learn about it when they're being told they have to start dialysis. So as hard as it is, and I can't imagine. I don't have kidney disease. I can only guess, but I do know a lot of people in our communities for plant powered kidneys. A lot of people say, "Oh, I wish I knew about my CKD at stage 3 because there are so many opportunities." It is like a silver lining of a very dark cloud. It's chronic illness. It sucks, but there are so many opportunities in stage 3 and even stage 4. And some of the top things that I focus on for these stages is one is potassium. And this is such a controversial topic, understandably, because there's so much. I'm going to keep this nice. There is not very correct information online. And the other unfortunate thing is now that AI is becoming bigger and bigger, especially with information, people are using AI to pump out incorrect information. Like they don't know what they're talking about, but they're just trying to pump out products to make money. And as I did my book research, I was terrified with how much I saw about from AI generated people talking about a renal diet. Like,
Okay.
but sorry, that was tangential. It's just
No.
years. But potassium, it is so crucial. And it's something that historically people have been told, regardless of your stage, potassium is a bad thing. But especially for your dad, when there's cardiovascular issues, potassium can be really, really powerful. So it's always a matter of tracking the labs, just like it is, with so many things in our health, but monitoring the labs. And when potassium blood levels are within range,
Right.
there is no reason to cut back on potassium. So yeah. And you know what? The crazy thing is like 98% of Americans don't even get enough potassium. And then people with kidney disease are being told to avoid it. So they're already probably not getting enough. And then they cut down even further. And what's happening is this incredibly important nutrient, which helps our blood pressure. It supports our healthy blood pressure. It supports our heart health. It's being removed from the diet. Like, yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest things. And you just have to look at the labs and you have to see what is going on in my normal eating. I'm not saying like, let's shoot for a moon, do like a banana at breakfast and a baked potato at lunch and like 10 cups of spinach at dinner. But I can tell you, I've had clients who have restricted their potassium for years. And I did have a client actually who started eating basically a potato every day. And his blood pressure improved so much. I had another client. She's hilarious. She's a CrossFitter. She's a PE teacher, very, very active, also stage 3, and was holding back on potassium. She was getting cramps. She was not eating enough potassium. She was getting muscle cramps. And we infused potassium into her diet. I started challenging her because we would add a little bit. We'd see her labs. We'd see what happened. Right. And then we add a little more. We'd keep tracking it. And she was I was pushing her upwards of 5,000 milligrams a day, which in the CKD world would be considered insane because a low potassium diet is around 2,000 milligrams. and I was getting her up to 5,000. But it's because her body needed it. Her kidneys were produced to handle it. She came off her blood pressure medications.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's this type of information that this is why I do these interviews, because it's the same thing. I've interviewed somebody around MS that works with MS, and their doctors didn't know that people with MS have to have a higher dosage of vitamin D. Mm. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, my doctors didn't know that. And I was like, hold on. And so the thing that we spoke about before I press record was like wellness, right? Finding a plan that works best for you. And what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve the lifestyle that, what's the lifestyle that you want, And so, oh my gosh, Jen, your wealth of knowledge. So I have a question.
Okay.
You've spoken about so many things, and there's these nuggets that you've given the audience. And sometimes as the world is so fast, right? We sometimes will zip through things. But what would be one nugget that you would want somebody to walk away with in this interview?
I think the biggest thing when it comes to managing chronic kidney disease, this chronic illness, it's with you for life, is that the answer is not in a 180-degree change. It's not in this concept of, let me throw everything out of my kitchen, let me throw everything out of my pantry, let me eat only whole foods, only, uncrossed. Like, if it won't last. It won't last. You'll keep it for a little bit and, create cool. But in the long run, it's not sustainable. What's sustainable is when I have somebody who says, I need to get a better sleep routine because I know sleep is really impacting my health. I'm going to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. Right. And that's it. And they do that for several weeks. And then they say, I'm going to do another 15 minutes. Or I have somebody who is terrified of adding potassium to their diet. And so we say, let's pick one extra low potassium vegetable to add to your day. And it's only going to give you 200 milligrams, which is nothing. But we're going to just do a little bit more. We're going to add that little bit day after day and see how things go. And then see what the labs look like and then continue. It's these small changes. And because at the end of my sessions with clients, they give me this goal. And I'm like, really? And I play devil's advocate. And I'm like, is this really what you can do? Is this where we're going to leave this call and you're saying, piece of cake, I got this, no problem. Or if you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to clear my calendar and I've got to go to the grocery store or I've got to go online and buy a dozen supplements. That if it already brings you anxiety, then that's not right. So starting small is going to be so powerful. I really can't stress that enough.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. So where can people find you? Where are you? Where do you live on the web? Where can people find you?
All over the place. I think if you search my name, you'll get basically everything. But my home base is my website and blog, which is at plantpoweredkidneys.com. And then we're also on Instagram and Facebook. I also have a free and private Facebook group for people with kidney disease who are looking for community and support. So you can go to Facebook and search for the groups, look for Plant Powered Kidneys. You'll find the group. You'll find my page. You'll get all kinds of information. I get a lot of stuff posted on there as well. And then if you're interested in learning more about my upcoming book, which it'll be out in 6 weeks. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'll tell you a little. The release date is my birthday.
Oh,
it was a gift to myself of making sure that this book came out. So, yeah, it'll be in about 6 weeks. So if you want to learn more about the book, I have some information on the website at plantpoweredkidneys.com. And this is something that's going to be great. I've already had really great feedback from some of the readers that have drafted it, or not drafted, they have reviewed the draft.
Right.
And I can't wait.
Well, I might have to bring you back and we can do a book review and you got to tell us about it. Got to do this because I want that to be a gift. It's all about celebrating and and you continue to step into your path, continue to step into what you already do. And so I would love, let me know. I would love, and I'll get the book and we can do a book, just a book talk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you like the potassium stuff, let me tell you, you're gonna get a lot. You're gonna get a lot from the book. I'm sure it'll be great for you and your dad.
Well, I appreciate you, Jen, for coming out and sharing with us. I would love to have you back on. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marsha. I really had a great time, and yeah, thank you so much for letting me talk with more people about kidney disease and the positivity that can be behind it.
Yes. Yes.